Okay, so this is our first example with graphing a parabola. And so I'm going to write the two equations that we discussed in the previous video and just kind of work with that. I'm going to go ahead and draw them to the right here. Okay, so I have our two equations right here. I have y minus k, so the k is our up and down shift, and x minus h, which is our left and right shift. So notice the x is going to shift horizontally and the y is going to shift vertically. So the associated letter with the shift coordinates with the appropriate variable. And so the reason that I wrote these here is I want you to look at what we have, and I want you to notice that we're dealing with, well, what type of parabola is it? Does it open up or down or left or right? So if we're an x equal to, so notice the square on this guy is with the y. And I'm going to call this an x equal to equation because I could really just take this h and move it to the other side. I could take this k and move it to the other side. And so it doesn't matter how we format it, but I could write these both as y is equal to 1 over 4p x minus h squared plus k, or x is equal to 1 over 4p y minus k squared plus h. So I could move those over. So really, is it a y equal to or an x equal to? Well, we got an x is equal to. So if I know it's an x is equal to, I'm going to open to the left or to the right. So I think it's important for you to identify right off the bat, how am I opening? Okay? So I know that because this guy is an x is equal to, I'm going to open left or right. Okay? And if I'm positive, I open right. If I'm negative, I open left. So I look at the sign in front, and it's positive. Okay, there's no negative sign, it's positive. So I know in this example, I'm going to open to the right. Okay, so now let's go from there. What's the vertex? Well, the vertex is based off of the shift. So I'm going to look here, and I'm going to look here. And there is no shift on the y, and there's no equation here. So this is really x is equal to 1 over 4 y squared plus 0. So no shift means that the vertex is at 0, 0. So the other things that I need are the directrix and the focus. And these guys are all based on this variable p. Okay, so what's p? P tells us the distance from the vertex to focus and the distance from the vertex to the directrix. And so really, the vertex is a midpoint. Okay? So vertex is a midpoint. And so I'm going to use this standard equation, and I'm going to write it again. I'm going to move some of this stuff up. Pretty busy here, so let me go ahead and clean this up a little bit. Okay, so now let's look at our equation. So our equation, we're dealing with the x, so we have x is equal to 1/4 y squared. So I look at this guy, and I know what usually is supposed to be here is in the standard equation, it's 1/4 p. Well, that's equal to 1/4. So that means that p is equal to 1. So I know the directrix is 1 unit away, and so is the focus. So I'm going to go ahead and plot all these points, and I'm going to plot my vertex, which is at 0, 0, and I'm going to go ahead and the focus, I know I open to the right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trace my parabola, and I'm going to plot my focus, which is at 1, 0. And then the directrix is going to be this dashed line behind the parabola. Okay, and so notice, as I said before, that P is the distance from the vertex to the focus and also from the vertex to the directrix. So I'm moving 1 unit to the right and 1 unit to the left. So then that means using this information that I found here over on the right-hand column, I know I have my vertex at 0, 0. I know that I'm going to have my focus, it's 1 plus this, right? So it's going to be 1, 0. The directrix is an equation of a line, and it's a vertical line, so it's going to be x is equal to -1. And I can get that from just looking at the picture right here. Notice this is the equation of a line, and one of the tricks here is because I'm an x equal to equation, I know that that's going to be the format for my directrix. It's going to be an x is equal to equation. And the last thing that we're going to plot here is the axis of symmetry. The axis of symmetry is that line that goes through the vertex and splits the parabola so it's symmetrical. So our axis of symmetry in this example is going to be perpendicular. It's always going to be perpendicular to our directrix. And so because we're dealing with an x equal to directrix, the perpendicular line is going to be a y is equal to. So what's the y in the vertex? It's 0, so that is our axis of symmetry. So these are all the bits and pieces that we need to find, and then here is our graph, and that's how we graph a parabola.